Oh, that's good. Okay, so I'm recording. I think. Yep, I'm definitely recording. I keep trying out different software to see which one I like, and right now I'm using one where I can actually watch the audio form, like the waveforms graphs, so I can make sure that the microphone's working. Because the other day I recorded one, 45 minutes later I realized the microphone wasn't recording.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that was awesome. So I don't want that to happen again. So I'm trying this one out where I can see it live. So yeah. So welcome to the Art of the Hustler podcast, and today I have my dad, who's here to talk about. I don't know yet. We're about to figure those topics out as we go. But first person to respond and say yes. So
Well,
why don't
you
you?
gotta take advantage of an opportunity.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, mainly just from like a business stance, let's say. Like mainly, most stuff that I talk about is entrepreneurial stuff. So like, how would you say that you got started on an entrepreneurial path?
Well, actually, I started by reading the book The E-Myth, and which is the art of the entrepreneur. Where basically it's a myth that entrepreneurs start businesses because they don't. Technicians start businesses, and so once you learn how that works, then it's a lot easier to get a business started.
So go into that, because there's the three roles that entrepreneurs fall into, right? So you want to talk about it for just a second?
Michael Gerber was the author. He was back in the 80s. He was the leading business consultant in the world, I believe. The guy was getting like $500 an hour, half hour by telephone back then. But what he did was analyze businesses as to how they succeeded and how they failed. And basically there's three types of individuals. None of them are any better or worse than another. There's just three types of individuals. You have the entrepreneur. It's the idea guy. He's the guy that gets things going. I got an idea, I like it, I work it to death, and then I'm on to something else as soon as I'm done. I don't have a lot of interest after I develop something.
That's me.
Then you have the manager. And the manager is the person, hey, I love to manage. I love to manage. I'm not into marketing. Just let me manage the people. I'm good to go. And then you have the technician. And the technician, the person actually does the work, pushes the buttons, does the proposals, runs the quotes, the
engineer.
The day-to-day stuff, the grunge stuff, the most, that the entrepreneur just absolutely hates to do. So, and what Gerber found out was he looked and he said, like, he gave an example of a car dealership. So here's this big GM car dealership making millions of dollars, and the head mechanic saying, what is it? I'm getting $85,000 a year, and I'm fixing all these cars, and this guy's making millions off of me. This is crazy. Without me, he's nothing. Okay, and eventually, I'll start my own shop. I'll make my own millions. So what's he do? He goes out and opens his own shop. He does really well for a little bit because it takes a certain amount of clientele. He only has a certain amount of business, and he goes right into just fixing cars. Well, then he starts to get a little busy. He goes, well, I need to hire somebody because I'm getting too busy. So he looks around, and there's Fred. Oh, Fred's perfect. He's a great mechanic. I'll hire Fred because he's a good mechanic too. And I bring Fred in. And now it's getting pretty busy, and I want to take some time off. Fred, can you come in? Can you do this? Sure. Then I get calls from clients going, hey, nobody's here. How come nobody's at the shop? What do you mean? Fred's running the business.
And when I talk to my friends that are spinning up businesses for the first time, like their first real businesses, and once they've hit that first wave of success and they think, I want to branch out, or I want to take a minute off, or I want to do something, it's funny to talk with them about how the hardest thing that they're learning is to delegate tasks off to someone. Because they're like, man, they always say the same thing. If I do it, they're not going to do it as good, and it's going to kill my company or kill all the work I've done over the last few years. Just like 1 week off, my business will die because they're not going to put in near as much effort. And I'm like, yeah, that was the hardest thing for me to cope with, was learning to delegate tasks to other people to do, even though knowing full well they're not going to do it near as well as I could.
Well, theoretically, no one will do it as well as you do. You have to accept that and move forward because you're not going to grow without it. That's part of the book too. The part of the book, so what happens is, here's Fred. So what happens? Well, what happened? The problem is that this mechanic hired another technician. Technicians start businesses, not entrepreneurs, and technicians hire other technicians. They don't know about managers and idea guys. So Gerber's philosophy is you have to decide which are you. and your first hire has to be one of the other two, and then your second hire has to be the third one. So you have the triangle. You have to go into business with the triangle. You also have to start out thinking you're going to be as big as McDonald's. That was his whole thing. You're as big as McDonald's as soon as you start. Even though you're just one person, you have to learn to delegate. You have to learn to subordinate out your plan to other people, and you need to know where to hire to put them into the right slot.
And the key thing to point out here is, in the beginning, when you're starting your own company and you are the only person, you are all three roles. Even though you know you're, like me, I'm an idea person. But in the beginning, I'm doing all the coding and development work. I'm doing all the management and payroll for my staff, for my employees. I'm doing everything myself, because until you have the capabilities to hire out those roles or partner up with someone where someone values your equity to where they'll do it for a sweat equity return, or they can bring in business, you're going to have to do it all yourself. That's just inevitable.
Well, that's the point that he makes, that you use yourself to start. But the big thing is your hire has to be someone that's not you. It has to be one of the other two people if you're going to succeed. Now, myself, I had a specialized insurance agency for 35 years, and we dealt with professional clients across the United States. And first thing I did realize I'm not a technician. The worst thing for me is technician. Running quotations, filling out applications, doing service. Oh my gosh, you may as well put a bullet in my head. Okay, I can't stand it. I love being out there with the people, developing ideas, going places, developing clients, getting new clients. So the first thing I did was hire somebody to do those applications. And I can tell you, I haven't filled out an application in 25 years.
There's another buddy of mine that runs some pretty successful businesses, and a piece of advice that he gave me is very similar to this. This kind of describes his advice, which was hire out what you don't like doing. Because if you don't like doing it, you're not going to do it good enough.
Well, and the idea is it frees you up for what you like to do, which you're going to do it better, theoretically.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I felt I was more capable of bringing in clients. I was better off going out to doing talks and presentations and seminars and workshops and things like that. And then the next thing, I got someone to present the plans, because that's a lot of work and very technical too after a while. Okay, even though it's the heart of the business, but I found that out second. So I had somebody fill out applications first, then I developed somebody to actually prepare the quotes and do the actual sales. So I was the lead person. I bring the clients in, and basically the staff would take it from there, and it worked out well that way.
Now, you had a successful, like you just said, 35-year insurance companies and stuff that you did, and it obviously worked out well. But how many other business ideas have you tried where you even formed the company, got a tax ID and everything, but it didn't work and wound up bombing?
Let's see. Well, one of the things I've learned, and I'm going to write my own book, is called Stay on the Path.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't get off the path. Once you're on the path, you're doing well. Just stay on it. Don't get off it. Because everybody thinks, I did so great in this, I'm going to do great in another, and then you do nothing but bomb. I've probably failed in four other businesses that I've tried to start it up. There were sure things, and there's just no way, because I was out of my league.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't prepared for it. And so, just a complete waste of money and time. Just stay on the path. Invest in yourself. That's the thing. People say, I want to invest in, you start out, let's do some investments. No, invest in yourself. Invest in your business. Buy your equipment. Buy your people. Buy more people. They're going to turn more than any percentage on a stock fund or something. That's one of the things that you told
me years ago. I think I was in college, entry college, and I asked what stocks do you invest in or whatever. You said it doesn't matter. Invest in yourself. That's the only thing that matters. And I was like, oh. And then it really it hit, and ever since I still do it to this day. I know of stocks I should be investing in and stuff, but I also know, more importantly, I need that capital available to do things like all of a sudden it's oh man, I have a last minute flight because of a potential client out in LA. I need to be there tomorrow. It's $1,200 for the ticket. I'm glad that money's in my bank account and not in a stock somewhere where I'm making 10%, because this client could net me $200,000 over the next 2 years. So
you have to figure out one of the things too, which I always felt accurate, is keeping detailed records of everything you do, so you can chart it down to the numbers, because everything is run by the law of large numbers. Yeah, and definitely. Once you can figure your numbers, you get it down. So once you know when it gets down to I can see this many people and I see this much money and the average case is this size, and I used to track. I had an Excel sheet, a specialized Excel sheet with probably 30 tracking numbers, that I would track everything in that business every week, every month, every year. And it became very easy to predict what we're going to do, because I could say, okay, here's how much money I want to make. Then I have to present these many cases, which will generate this many applications, which will generate this. It's very simple.
Yep.
It comes down to law of large numbers. So you can tell exactly how many sales calls you have to make.
That's called scaling your business.
It's also called law of large numbers. And it's the same thing.
Yep. No, absolutely. And my guys know, like my managers of my shops and stuff, they know it's like every week we run our numbers. And when we run the numbers, everything stops for my manager who runs the numbers. That's all he does during that time until they're done of that previous week, because they're that important. Because if you don't have your numbers, you're just navigating blindly in the dark. Like when my cannabis company is probably the most insane company I've ever started, because there's so much different. I think the best way is to call it different money from different places, and segregation, and highly audited and highly scrutinized. So you can't fudge it. You can't make accidents or mistakes. Everything has to be perfect. And it's a constant pitch to everyone to renew your licenses, for investors, for sales, for whatever. So you have to know your numbers cold. So when I'm talking to someone and they're like, hey, so in the last 3 months, what portion of your sales were from your edibles that were 50 milligrams and under? And if I can't come up with that number off the top of my head, or at least show them how I can factor it and get that number almost immediately, they'll look at you like you have no idea what you're doing.
Exactly. You would, every month we'd have a staff meeting at the end of the month, and we go, everybody had charts of numbers, and each person had a performance based on their numbers, okay? And then we go, okay, here's our goals for next month. Next month we want to have, so many sales. Joe, you're going to have so many sales this month, okay? And you're going to generate this percentage and this deal and this, that, exactly. And we plug them in. We tell them exactly what we're going to have to do. So, okay, what you have to do is you have to make 5 sales calls a day, 5 appointment calls a day. If you make 5 appointment calls a day, you're going to hit your goal for this month. Very simple. It comes out that way.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Like my tattoo shop, it became one of the things I found from keeping track of everything that we did on the early stages was that whenever we sent out someone to go flyer, there was a direct result of business increase. I mean, it was very noticeable. It wasn't like, oh, we saw a little bump. It was, we would see a 20% increase in business for the next week and a half if we sent someone out flyering all day for a day. And as soon as I found that out, I was like, oh. So I ordered like 5,000 flyers.
You can track all that. How many flyers were handed out? How many hours did it take? How many people mentioned the flyers? You track all those numbers, and they come back, and the longer you go, the more accurate that becomes.
Well, the irony that I had though was I did a flyer once where I said, hey, mention this flyer and get 20% off, just because I wanted to have direct feedback. Just like everyone says, hey, bring in this coupon. This way they know that thing, that ad they paid for actually had a return. But this was the weird thing, though. I put one of those, I did this a couple times where I said, hey, 20% off or some type of a deal if you brought the flyer in. Very few flyers came in. That part proved unsuccessful. But I know for a fact, because I've been running that business now for 7 years, that because when I see my graphs that I have, like when I point the date that we flyer, you can see an immediate spike and a tail every single time. So what's happening is it's getting into people's heads. They see the flyer, even if they look at it for a second and throw it on the ground and walk away or whatever, next couple days goes by and someone's saying, hey, I want to get a tattoo, and they're saying, oh, you should go over to Live One Sing. They're bomb. They got a great artist over there or something, because it's in their head. So even though there wasn't a direct what was I'm looking for, like a stat point that I could market saying, hey, look, these flyers produce these results because I have this direct proof. It was more an indirect result from monitoring my sales and noticing the trends of the different things I did to see what actually affected it. But that took to really see that, it took about a year and a half to see the actual trend of it being there, because I couldn't see it directly.
I think any business, you're going to need at least a year's worth of numbers. And once you get to 2 years or 3 years, then you're pretty good.
Oh,
if you're tracking things monthly for after 3 years, you're going to tell exactly. Yep. You're going to know exactly what to do and how to do it. My
business partners in with me with my dispensaries, which is a retail business, they've never been in retail ever in their lives. So they just thought they knew everything about business, so therefore they could do it. And then after the first month of retail business, they realized they were completely out of their league. They had no idea how to run retail and no clue what goes on. They're like, man, it just seems like wizardry. It's like, it's not wizardry. It just looks like I'm super awesome because I've been doing this for a long time already. I already know what works and what doesn't work.
I've never looked at it. It's probably Fibonacci numbers.
I don't know about I couldn't tell you what the Fibonacci sequence has to do with my numbers.
Elliott wave stuff.
But if you want to do that research, I'll give you my numbers and you can let me know. But
I don't that thing.
So
here's the thing. When I learned this, where it got me was when I was back in college and stuff. I worked in pizza places, and we worked in high volume pizza places. So we'd have to pre-make the dough. We made our own dough in the shop and everything. You have to make it, proof it, get it go. It's a big production. Well, how many do you make? We had 3 different sizes, right? Small, medium, and large. So the manager would go, okay, I want you to do, 300 larges and 400 mediums and 200 small. I mean, where do you get that number? How can you possibly know? You can't make them to order. They're going to be done ahead of in a daytime. Well, because we track the numbers. What do you mean you track the numbers? So every day they'd write down how many pizzas they sold on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and they had a track. They put it in a little notebook, and then they look and they'd average the past 4 weeks. In the past 4 weeks, and the 6 weeks, and so they could tell. And on a Saturday night, it'd be amazing. At the end of the night, there'd be like 3 or 4 pizzas left every night to throw away, pizza doughs. It's like, how in the hell can you do that? Because it all works out. And my thing is like, well, how can that work? What if it was a bus that came in? A bus of students out of nowhere decided to come in. A football team's like, we need pizzas. How would that throw that off? It doesn't matter. It always comes out.
Yep.
It's so weird.
Yep, exactly. And also, like you said, you need to monitor those numbers more than just a couple weeks or months, because what I've noticed, especially in retail, there's seasonal effects, which took me years to figure out for some of my businesses. I'd wonder, man, it seems like every September it's slow. Like the first week of September, my business just dies out of nowhere. And for the first couple of years, I couldn't figure it out to save my life. I thought, was it because it's raining outside, or which is an honest factor for business? If it rains, business goes down. That was something I found out. The heavier the storm, the less business I got. It's tried and true. And then I'd find out, okay, the third week in January, business would die for a week until March, and it picked back up again. And what I found out was my numbers, after looking over these things over a period of years, is that there were certain dips that would happen every single time, every year. So we knew going into it, okay, in August, we know September is going to be a low month. We start prepping sales. We start prepping for more promotional material. We prepare for that lull that's going to happen to try to boost ourselves out of it. And then eventually we find out what it is. One time it's because, that's when school starts back up. So everyone's spending, what it turned out to be for the September one, is everyone's spending all their money on all the back to school items for their kids, that they don't have that extra income on tattoos and piercings and stuff, so therefore business dies. Because almost all the schools down there, all their kids, they send them to private schools, so they have to buy new uniforms and everything, and they do it at the last minute, which is a week before school starts, and that's when my business dies for the next, until basically 2-3 weeks. Why? Because then they get their next paycheck, and then they can come back in and get tattooed again. So everybody in the tattoo, no matter where you are outside the U.S. at least, but everybody in the tattoo industry knows when tax refund time is, because that's when it's the most popular time and for them to get fully booked, because everyone's got extra money that they weren't planning on having, and what do they want to do? They want to treat themselves. So one of the things that's a treat yourself thing is a tattoo, so they run out and get tattooed. Impulse buys.
Well, we had same seasonal things. Only ours were, since professionals, they didn't want to do. You didn't do much playing in the summer, so summers were bad because that's when they took their vacations. Went with the kids, the family. They didn't want to focus on dying and being disabled. So, but come back September, boom, they were in the mode and right back to it, and, there's always, everything's seasonal.
So one of the talks I talked about right before the podcast right before this one was about how successful people are socially punished. Meaning that if you do really well for yourself, then everybody else chastises you. You see the rewards. You get, the better lifestyle, and you have the easier life because you have funds to pay for people to do stuff you don't want to do or whatever. But socially, everyone else out there is telling you how much you suck just because you make more money or because your business is more successful or whatever. They don't have a clue how much time and effort and what you've sacrificed to put into it, or what risks you've taken in the beginning to get it to that point. They don't care. And my thing I started thinking about was it started stemming from even back early as back as elementary school. If you do super well on your tests and you're the dork or the nerd in school, you're labeled as such. You are socially brought down by your peers for being successful, and it's never stemmed.
It's a known fact. Not even only your peers, your parents and family are your worst enemies. Most times in success, if you look at, there's been a lot of books written out there that your parents and your family will bring you down on success because they can't comprehend it, and if they didn't have it, they can't comprehend you having it. So you have to learn to break away from parents and family, and that's a tough one too. Huh. But what happens is, I
guess I got lucky in that part.
I don't know. But the thing is, well, they're the ones first to say, "Oh, don't be thinking that crazy stuff." What do you mean going to tattoo? Don't be doing that. You need to go be an accountant. That's a good job. You can be an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to push you to the safe and predictable.
Definitely.
Okay, they're not risk takers.
No parent is telling their kid, "Yeah, you should spend all of your money to go live on the street for this crazy idea of being a professional video game player." But it's possible.
I saw a thing on Facebook the other day. 5 garages. This is where they all started. Microsoft, Google, Facebook, whatever. And I'm sure every parent says, go get a garage and start a business doing nothing.
Oh yeah, right.
Okay, but there's other things that come into play there.
What about now? What about now? Where I think that might be a generational thing, because I would say, like, at that point in time, the books that you were reading and like your level versus my level. Like if I was the kid at that point in time, I would say yes. Almost all the parents of my friends were all saying you need to be a doctor, lawyer, or get a solid job, like, because I grew up outside Detroit, so it was get an automotive, go work it for Ford, Chrysler. That's what I mean. I say, like 90% of the people I went to school with went to go work for one of the big four.
Put your 25 years in and get retired.
Yeah, it's all about getting retired and get that gold watch and getting good benefits or a government job or whatever. But so I see why they would do that, because that's the path they went down, or that's the path that their parents saw was the easier route compared to the crap they went through. But I think it's going to be different now, because like I would not push my kid into getting a 9-to-5 job. Like I'm encouraging them about learning how to become an entrepreneur now. Like ever since preschool. I remember my daughter, she went to school one day and she had a quarter, and she said she wanted a candy bar, and I was like, well, you can't buy a candy bar with that. You need 2 more quarters. And she was like, how do I do that? And so we just kind of joked around in the morning. But when I picked her up from preschool, she had 75 cents. So I was like, oh my God, you did it. I'm like, that's crazy. So no matter what she did, she got that 75 cents. So we went and bought her the candy bar. But so I think like now this generation has seen that the entrepreneurial spirit is way more idolized now than before. Because now with the internet and everything else, it's so much easier, and I would say even more expected nowadays. It's like your kid doesn't have a startup. What's wrong with them?
It's become a problem, and I've talked to so many business people in downtown Columbus here. A lot of people in the business world down here, and they talk, and they're just so frustrated with coming in, because they think they're entrepreneurs. They want to run the business. They don't want to take direction. They don't want to be told what to do, and within 6 weeks, they want to know why they're not coming to them for answers. Okay, you still got to put your time in.
Yeah, but they'll fail.
Become an expert overnight.
They'll fail in the beginning, but you know what though? To my opinion, that's what weeds out the successful entrepreneur, the real entrepreneur. A real entrepreneur will fail so many times and not care. It won't faze them. It'll just be like, ah, crap. Well, time to revisit that plan and come up with something else. Like it's never like a real entrepreneur will never fail and be like, this sucks. This is a horrible thing.
But you need to sit back every once in a while and just pay attention and, open up the ears and shut the mouth and pay attention.
Absolutely.
And learn the trade.
Like, okay. I mean, so I have the most successful tattoo shop in Puerto Rico, and it was the first tattoo shop I ever opened. And is it luck? No. I spent 6 years working at the most notorious tattoo shop in the world under the guy that built up the most successful tattoo persona in the world. So, and I spent 6 years for free, basically in exchange for a tattoo, which was a horrible business deal on my end. But thankfully, I opened a tattoo shop. I'm making my money back that way. But I learned everything by being so heavily involved in the industry and at the shop level for years Then I went out. It was like almost like I apprenticed for 6 years, and then I went and opened a shop. So it wasn't like a miracle that I did well. It was like no shit. It's like this is what you do when you want a successful tattoo shop. I have so many friends. I had all my friends were the most popular tattoo artists in the world, and I would talk with them all the time. So I knew exactly what to do. Copy what they did. it was very simple. And then my consulting business.
You're familiar with the 10,000 hours.
Yes, putting in 10,000 hours. But I think you have to enjoy those 10,000 hours. And not necessarily enjoy it. Like, it could be a grind. You're like, oh, this is brutal. But it has to be what you want to do. Like, you have to actually be like, I know this is worth it for me. It's not like you're going to work while you do it.
But typically, I go back to the Beatles. You know, they stormed the country. They'd be, oh my gosh, they were there's never anything like it when the Beatles came in the 60s. But what people don't know is they played every night in clubs, every night. They literally had 10,000 hours, all of them, and that's what they could play so well together. But nobody knew that. They thought they just made some songs and came over. You got to put your time in to have the expertise. Yeah, hello, we got dead air here. Yeah, hello. Hello. Hello.
Sorry, I had to go be a parent for a second.
I'm talking, all of a sudden nothing.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to interrupt you because I know what you're going with, but I had to get the two little ones to get ready for bed. This is that whole balancing of family and business, and then and this isn't even a business thing that I'm doing. This is more just for a fun thing. But yeah, so that was fun. Anyway, so the 10,000 hours full time for 10 years, you should be a master at whatever it is you're doing, right?
Well, that's the minimum to be a master, to be an expert.
What book was that in? There was a book, like a famous book, obviously.
I forget the name of it. It's a major theory.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very interesting book. Now, one of the other things too that
what was that?
What the hell was it? I was going to tell you something here.
I'm gonna look that up. It was book 10,000 hours. It's gonna pop right up as number one. Outliers. Yep. That was it.
Yep. But that's
the same. That's Malcolm Gladwell. That's the same guy that did Tipping Point, wasn't it? Is that the same thing? That same guy? That book, because that book became huge. Yeah, the Tipping Point. That was the first one. The Tipping Point, Blink, Outliers, What the Dog Saw, David and Goliath. I've read the Tipping Point, Blink, and Outliers, and all three of them were great books. Tipping Point was pretty cool. I Blink one was like okay. Outliers I liked. Outliers was pretty cool too. But the Tipping Point was huge. Everyone saw it. That's the one. I think the one that has the match on the cover, the white book with the match.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a great.
I just saw it the other day. I was clearing out the office.
Yeah, that's a good book. It's one of those business history.
Remember
books.
Remember the 30 books that I gave you?
Yeah, that was interesting. So actually, what's funny is because you haven't heard this yet. Because I literally just recorded air quotes yesterday's podcast like an hour ago, and I was talking about how when I was in college, it's like I didn't have anything, and I was living on Cheerios and all this other crap. And then I didn't mention it in the thing, but my graduation present from you was a bag of books. What's up, buddy?
Yep.
I ate all the food.
You ate all the food? You have barbecue sauce all over your nose, and your hands in your butt. Those are two things you need to figure out. Aiden ate all his food. He's very
Good.
all done. You want a popsicle now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You can have a popsicle.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for eating all your food. Yeah, that was a nice little hour nightmare to get him to eat his food. Vegetables are like a challenge, but it happens. So, but yeah, so you gave me basically a bag of books. You're like, congratulations, you graduated college. Read all this. And what's funny is, this is what's interesting too. I guess this would be like my weird tipping point that happened. Up until I graduated college, I never read books. Ever. I read I knew how to read for the answers for the tests. and I knew I very rarely had to study anyway. I was just with that guy that could just go to class and regurgitate everything back onto the form. But I never read books for fun ever. And I never read books to learn ever. But then when I got that bag of books and I moved to New York, I wound up having to take public transportation all the time, like the subway and the boats and the PATH train to get to work, because I was living in Jersey City. And so I had to do something with my time. There were no iPhones and shit like that back then, so therefore I had to come up with something. So I was like, oh, I'll read a book. So the only books I had were the ones that I brought with me, which were the ones that you gave me. So I had that bag of books to go through. So I wound up reading the E-Myth and, was it The Richest Man in Babylon? The Seven Secrets, Think and Grow Rich. 7 Secrets of Highly Successful People or Effective People or something like that.
Yeah.
Like those were all. What's funny is because those were like the first books I read. Those became my foundation of book reading. Still to this day, that's all I read. Like this last one, I just went over all the different books I have sitting here that I haven't read yet that I'm like getting ready to read, and they're all like businessy, self-help, learning how to do something or learning from someone else's success books or mistakes books.
Well,
Rich Dad Poor Dad, that was another one.
People say, "Oh, I've read all these books." I've read all these books. Not much. I've always felt if you go to a seminar, a workshop, whatever, you pay for, even if it's a whole weekend, you pay for, and it's really crappy. It's oh my gosh, it's horrible. I couldn't believe it went. But if you got one thing, if you just took one thing out of there, you find down the road it was worth every cent you paid, because that one little thing could make you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you did it right. That's
funny. That's exactly what I said. I was like, I'll buy a book. It was like the most expensive book I probably bought was probably $50 or something. But if I learned one thing that helped me, it's made its money back hundreds fold over the years. So that's why I love books, because it's like, man, these things, like, if like the way I don't see a book as like, oh man, I gotta read this. Like when I see this book, like right now I bought this new one. It's been sitting on my desk for a week now because I haven't had a chance to even open it. Called How to Be a Capitalist Without Any Capital. I don't know. It looks pretty good. It looks interesting. Like definitely interesting enough to where I want to read it. But it's like I'm looking at it like there is money that I am not putting in my pocket that is sitting in that book right now, and it's driving me nuts that I don't have that money. Like that's how I view books. I view books as it's another way for me to make more money every time. Like it's either something that's going to give me a new business advice or a technique or a history lesson of what not to do or what to do, or if it's even the books that I think Aiden's doesn't like our flavor of popsicles that we have. He's losing it. But or it's like, or I'll read a book that kind of helps me adjust myself. Like I read a lot of self-help books too, so it'll teach me how to calm down, meditate. Self-meditation is really good, relaxing. Just kind of refocusing all my energy on things I'm doing and how to work effectively. So even if it's not a direct business thing, it's something that I benefit from, and then in turn that lets me run my businesses better, or it lets me work better as opposed to longer. So I see every book
reality,
as
if you look at this in the reality of any book, okay, basically there's one key idea or point that author's trying to get across. Mm-hmm. And it's one basic idea, maybe 6 subsets of the idea, but it's one basic idea. So to me, I'm not a read every word, turn every page. No, I go through it. I get through all the fluff, go through the introduction. Who cares? If you get to the point, because he has to fill pages and make a book. Mm-hmm. Let's get to the points you want, that you want to learn. And that's what we work with. Because so you can read a lot of books without having to actually read.
And that's book. Like the guy Ty Lopez. His big thing is he touts about how he reads a book every day. He does not read a book every day. He skims through a book to read the chapter headings, the first sentence of the first couple paragraphs, and any big bold print every day. That's what he does. It's not bad. Shit. Honestly, it's probably a great idea. Like just the quick little snippets that you pick up, because you don't have time to read that much. It's impossible. Not if you're in the middle of a grind. There's no way you have that time to read that book. So, but the only thing is, like, what I'm having a hard time, it's kind of like how I had a hard time delegating, is I have a hard time not reading the whole book, because I'm like, well, what else I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to skim through this book, be like, I got it, and then put it aside, because I'm never going to touch it again. And then what nugget of information did I miss?
You get the hang of how to do it after a while. You just kind of
Yeah, I mean,
catch the
I
highlights.
definitely skip a lot of the personal. So when I was a kid, I had a. I don't want to read. I don't care.
Or they start down the path of stories. No, forget it. Don't care.
Yeah.
Not interested.
Exactly.
Okay? Get to the point. I want to know what it is that you're trying to tell me that's going to make me either a better person or help me make more money.
Just give me the Cliff Notes version. Charge me more. I don't care. I'd rather pay more for a shorter version that has all the main points. And then, if I'm interested in more, you can have a little footnote. If you want to know more about how I do this, in my main book, start on page 35. Okay, cool. Now I can go reference the stuff I actually care about.
I always thought it'd be a good idea for a book. I always thought it'd be a fun book. Would be to go around and ask like 500 people. And 500, you got to be determined as successful people. They don't have to be wealthy, but they have to be successful in whatever it is that they're doing. It could be personal life or not just money. Success is, not just money. And so I would like to go around and have 500 people and say, what's the one thing? What's the one thing that you feel, made you, get where you are, do what you do? What's the one bit of advice you would give? If you had to give one piece of advice, what would it be? And I'd like to get that from 500 people and put that into 500 ideas of wisdom.
Well, it's funny that you say that. There's a book, I haven't read it yet, but I think it's Tim Ferriss. Is that right? Yeah, Tim Ferriss. He's the guy that wrote the 4-hour, I'm totally butchering this. I'm calling it the 4-hour work week. That's what it is. So he just put out a book just like that, actually. Hold on. I'm looking it up now. It's called Publications. Tribe of Mentors is what it's called.
That's a good title. But see, when I was on the road for 13 years, 4 days a week, all the country, traveling everywhere, I'd be sitting in a lot of bars and restaurants at night, eating dinner and stuff, sitting by myself, and always striking up conversation with the business guys, get into it. And I always thought, I should be keeping notes here. I should write a note for every guy I talk to. And what's his secret? But I had a lot of stuff, but I never did it.
All right, so here we go. This book, Tribe of Mentors, includes many of the people I grew up viewing as idols or demigods. Less than 10% have been on my podcast, making this brand new play of playbooks. So he interviewed, I reached out to the most impressive world-class performers in the world, ranging in their 20s to icons in their 70s and 80s. I've discovered more than 50 morning routines, best purchases of $100 or less, how to overcome failure, blah, blah, blah. Well, I know it doesn't say the number, but I remember listening. Oh, here we go. I probably should have read this big, bold print part at the top. He shares the ultimate Choose Your Own Adventure book, a compilation of tools, tactics, and habits of over 130 of the world's top performers, from iconic entrepreneurs to elite athletes, from artists to billionaire investors, and their short profiles can help you answer life's most challenging questions, achieve extraordinary results, and transform your life. So it's basically what you're saying. But I was like, this sounds like something I'd want to read. I've read a couple of his other books. They're good. Like 4-Hour Work Week. Like that was one I read. That was one actually you gave to me. I think that was one of the books in that bag. Yeah. But I went to the bookstore to pick this up, and the thing is huge. I mean, this thing's probably like 500 pages or something. I looked at it, I'm like, oh man, I'm not gonna get through this. Like it's pointless. Like I'm just gonna sit there and kind of pick and choose one or two to read every once in a while. But there's just so much content. Here's the deal, though. I just gave you a good idea. You travel all the time and have all kinds of, what I'm trying to do is
with people, and I'd start taking notes.
So I'm doing that, but I'm trying to do it in a podcast form. That's what I'm doing now. That's why, I'm trying to get more people involved to more listening perspective. Okay, so this book has 624 pages. It's huge. It's a massive book. So that's why I did it. Oh, look here. If you like this book, you also might like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mastery by Robert Greene. That's the guy that wrote 48 Laws of Power that I love. It's my favorite book. The One Thing, I read that. That book's not that good either. It's funny that all these books they suggest, I've read almost all of these. But Tim Ferriss, he's got a great podcast too, actually. I was one of them when I first started listening to podcasts a couple years ago. He was one of the first ones I started listening to because he interviews entrepreneurs of amazing businesses. Like he had a great interview I listened to with a guy that started up Airbnb. Oh, Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. That book, that was the one that got me started to create my own TV show. Remember when I did a body mod Their Body Mod TV, the tattoo piercing TV
Yep.
web TV show thing. I did like 100 and something episodes, and it was because of that book. I read that book. I was in Barnes and Noble as I do. I just wander around looking at books, and I saw this book. It kind of stuck out at me, and I was like, oh, it's a small book, but it looked. When I flipped through it, I was like, wow, there's a lot of great content real quick in a small book. So like, this is like a no BS, no fluff book. I was like, oh, I love these. So I picked it up and I checked it out. And then I started checking this guy out. First off, the book's amazing. Crushing It is a great, great book. I highly recommend it to everybody. But he did this thing. He was doing this TV show called Wine Library TV because he owned a wine distribution company store online. And he would do a wine vlog every day. He would talk about a couple wines and what they're good and what they pair with well and this and that. But the way he talked was amazing. I didn't care about wine at all. I actually got into wine from watching his TV shows online to learn how he was doing his stuff. And that's why I drink wine now, is all because of him. But so I saw his TV show and I literally copied it verbatim. I shot it the way he did. I made my website the same way that his website was. I copied it exactly. I mean exactly. If you watch like Body Mod TV episode number 1 or 2, I show that I'm copying exactly what he does. And but you know, it's not like I'm encroaching on his business or I'm stealing his stuff. It's like I'm just jump starting my thing, and then once I figure this thing out, it's going to tweak into my own thing. And obviously, once I hit episode 100, it was vastly different than how I started and what he was doing. And I think people have this idea that they need to reinvent the wheel. Like they need to oh no, I don't want to steal someone else's stuff. I'm going to do it all my own. It's like, dude, most of the stuff you're doing has already been done. Just get your core business running just to see if it works, and then start changing it to the way that you want it to work slowly. Like, don't lose all your people either. But anyway, so Gary Vaynerchuk, that dude is now one of the largest social media icons in the world. And he's still killing it. Like, the stuff that comes out of that guy's mouth is awesome. Everything that he says is amazing. What other books are in here? Yeah.
That Michael Gerber book, he admits I don't think it's a half-inch thick.
Yeah, no, that's a super quick read as well. That's a good one too. That's the one that's just full. Never split the difference.
I used that. I bought tons of copies. I just pass out to my clients because I used to do a lot of startup dentists when they're starting up in the early years.
Yep.
I say, here, you need to learn that the problem is, as a dentist, is typically you're a technician. You are the technician. You know, that's what you do. You just do the work. They didn't teach management. They didn't teach marketing. All they taught you was how to do dentistry, and you need to learn right away. And that was the biggest thing in dentistry, that's why practice management companies are so popular in the dental field, because dentists are typically technicians.
I know, it's interesting. I'm looking here. I'm on Amazon right now, and it's showing me customers about this item also bought. I'm just looking through these books, and what's cool is you can really tell. I mean, I know it sounds pretty self-evident, but I'm looking at the books that it's recommending, and when I look down through it just real quickly, all of these things have 4.5 stars across the board, and a lot of them and real quickly the reviews 4 Hour Workweek has 4.5 stars out of 5,300 reviews. That should tell you right off the bat that is an amazing book that people need to read. There's another one, 4 Hour Chef. So so I think it's kind of just look for another book here. So this one here, I don't know what this is. Essentials: The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. Greg McEwen. I don't know who that is or that book. I've never heard of it, but it's got 1,500 4.5 star reviews. It's like, oh, I should probably check that out.
Well, without even knowing what it is, I attest to that. Downsize. Stuff means nothing. Keep life simple. The more stuff you got, I should have learned very early on. I never paid attention. My brother told me one time he was listening to a sermon somewhere, and the pastor told him, he said, the complications of your life are directly related to the number of combustible engines you own. Okay? So, the least engine you own, the less hassle you're going to have. And boy, did I not. I mean, that was so totally true.
It is true. I have, I think, 5 cars right now. I should get rid of
life simple. Get rid of all of it. I mean, really, you don't need anything. Go back to my Vietnam days where I swung between 2 trees on a hammock, with a poncho liner with some with a boot lace on either side between 2 trees and some water and some food on my back. That was it. That's all you need.
I think you're forgetting about the mosquitoes.
We had DDT back then. It didn't matter.
I have. What's funny is when I was on my last podcast, when I was reading about the books I have sitting here, I totally forgot to read one of the books I have sitting here on my printer on the other side, which I started to read, but I haven't even really gotten into it. Is which just showed up here with a 4.5 star review at 4,600 reviews. I was like, ooh, this sounds like a good book. And I'm like, 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. I'm like, wait, I have that book. I already started reading it. It's really good. And what's crazy is the first chapter is all about the mating habits of lobsters and how they do things. And just by hearing that, you're like, how does this have anything to do with me or what I'm doing? But it's crazy. It does. And it's intriguing and, you know, really, really good. So, but I love listening to this guy talk. This Jordan Peterson guy of Canada. Oh my gosh. Whenever you put him up against anybody, man, the stuff that comes out of this guy's mouth is just, he's one of those bold, smart people that have done their research and have proof, not proof, but just they have the history to back up what they say in a great way. So it's really cool to watch this guy talk, and that's why I picked up his book.
Mm-hmm. Well, so we did book reviews tonight.
Yep, book reviews. That's always a good one. I love books. So what I'm doing now is I'm giving away books. So after I'm done reading a book, I bought a bunch of those little Tyvek envelopes, and I'm going to put up on my Instagram the cover of the book, and I'm just going to give it away to people. It's like a contest. So all these books I have, I'm done reading. I'm just going to start mailing them out. Because I figured with the priority mail and the Tyvek mailer, the whole thing comes to $3 to ship it out.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, that's easy. And what am I going to do with it? I never, I won't say never. There's only a couple books I've ever read more than once. Out of the hundreds of books I've gone through, only, I'd say maybe 5 I've read more than one time.
Well, see, the best thing happened to me when Amazon went to Prime, because I had several books. There was a couple books of sales processes that we would use for clients that could be explained in layman's terms and made it very simple to understand. And I would just go online and order it, come directly from them, free shipping. It was like a $6, $8 book, just a little, paperback thing.
Yep.
And it was great. Free shipping. It came right from Amazon, so they were impressed and worked real well.
Yeah. Yep. It's crazy the amount of information that's out there, and it's also, it's so simple to get information, really amazing information right now, that 20 years ago would take you months to find, if it even existed. And right now you can find it, like right now I'm looking up a book. If I want to know how to do anything, I can look it up, and within 5 seconds I'll have 5 books that people have written about it, and I've done it very successfully, and I can have it delivered to my doorstep in less than an hour. And it's crazy. We have this unlimited wealth of knowledge available at our fingertips, or for very nominal cost. Yet I feel like our society is dumber than it's ever been. It's like everyone has just become, because of these crutches that we provide people, we're more lazy.
Because it hasn't been used for what it should be used for. It's been used for games and entertainment. Just like everything else. Everything goes for games and entertainment. If we focus on what it could really be used for, it'd be phenomenal.
Yep. Well, that's why I love the early days of the internet, because it was all about knowledge sharing. That's it. Well, that and porn. But now it's just Facebook and cat memes. It's crazy just to think like what we were doing with the internet when I was 15, and the crazy shit that was going on back then, and what the potential was, and to see where it turned into. It's kind of sad, honestly. It's like it should have been. It's like if all of a sudden a library turned into a. It's almost as like to take the Smithsonian Library when it first started, and then fast forward, and now that has turned into, whatever, like the hottest 11, like where some hot stripper nightclub in Miami. That's what the internet has become. It had such great potential to be this amazing, knowledgeable resource of people sharing information, open source, which was a huge thing. Not even charging for it. Everyone was giving this information away, so people were growing rapidly from this free information exchange, and it turned into a stripper nightclub.
Well, I think what mostly people are interested in is animals.
Animals? That's true. I have a thing for talking animals. I lose my mind. If I see talking animal cartoon, I die. It's hysterical.
All right, I'm gonna have to wrap up here. Time
Cool.
for it.
So when are we getting together to smoke some weed?
Good night.
Okay, I'll see you later. Good. My dad will never smoke weed ever. He's the most straight-laced. Oh, it's crazy. Man, I remember when I first decided I wanted to get a tattoo. I was 23 years old, and it was my whole back. So I started getting it done. And when I showed it to him, it was only like the outline at the time, but it was my entire back. It was my first tattoo. And he was like, "Why would you want to do that? What are you trying to do? Stick out?" I'm like, "I am 7 feet tall. What are you talking about? I promise you, I already stick out." But yeah, very, very old school. So yeah, he's not too. Actually, what's crazy is he gets the whole medicinal aspect of it, and he even supports it with a lot of people around him and others. He just won't go. He won't do anything that is considered illegal. Like he I don't know. It's crazy. That would be a great That'll be the next thing. When I bring it back next time, we'll talk about why not doing something just because it's illegal makes sense. Like, what is legality? This is actually interesting too. I don't want to. Oh man, I'm in that mode where I just want to start talking about stuff. But okay, the last thing I want to talk about, just because I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and I was talking about it with my girlfriend a while back, and it's crazy, right? So think about this. Why do you need to buckle up? Why do you need to buckle your seatbelt when you drive your car? Oh, because it's the law. Okay, everyone knows that. All right, can you make a phone call while you're driving your car? No. Why? Because you're breaking the law. Everyone knows that too. Okay, cool. Can I walk up to someone in the bar and punch them in the face just because I want to? No. Why? Well, that's illegal. It's against the law. You can't do that. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I can't do that. It's against the law. But here's the thing. We have been, I don't want to go down the Alex Jones route of saying programmed, but I feel like that's what it is. But we've just become not desensitized. We've just become complacent to the use of the words, air quote, the law. What the hell is the law? That's like saying the government. It's like, or they. It's the most generalized term that we throw around that we never think about. We just openly say, oh, we can't do it because it's against the law. Or you can't do it because it's against the law. It's against the law. You can't do that. You'll break the law. What law? It's not like there's a law and it has all these things in it. There are thousands of laws based on jurisdictions of cities, states, countries. There's Geneva Convention laws there. I mean, there's all kinds of laws out there. And what's crazy is, in any sense of anything that you ever are held accountable to in the world, except for, I'll use it, the law, you're told in advance what these rules are. When you play a game, everyone knows what the rules are before you play. When you sign up for something, you have a contract that explicitly lays out the deal, the agreement that you're putting into place, and you sign it because you're saying, yes, I've read this and I agree to it. Everything we do is we're presented with what those terms are before we agree to them, and we're not held accountable to it until we've read that and agreed to it. Even in school, they'll tell you, oh, it's against the school handbook. They give you a crappy school handbook, because I found this out in high school. They give you that little, 20-pager handbook. Oh, this is the school handbook. Well, as I found out, because I challenged it, because that's who I am, I got sent to the guidance counselor office where they had the real school handbook, which was the size of like an unabridged dictionary. It had probably about 1,500 pages to it. Massive, massive doc. But I sat there and read it. I spent a week reading that thing. And just so I knew what I could get away with and what I couldn't get away with. And what sucks is they always have that one loophole. It's, here's all the rules, black and white, very clearly. And then, or whatever else the principal deems necessary. It's like, oh, come on. It's like, why even write anything? Why not just say the principal can do whatever they want? But anyway, not to digress. But, yeah, so we have this thing that we're afraid of to break the law, but we're never told what the law is, but we're held accountable to it so much. And look this up. I mean, you can look at videos of courtroom cases or read other cases on this stuff. If you get busted for something, right? Let's just say you're walking down the street and you were drinking a beer and you are 25 years old. It's a Saturday afternoon. You're walking around drinking a beer, and then a cop comes up to you and says, hey, here's a ticket. You're not allowed to drink beer. And you're saying, why? I'm 21 years old. I'm over 21. I thought it was allowed. I'm like, no, you can't have it outside. And you didn't know this. You're like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I was like, oh, here, you know what? Everyone knows that one. I'm going to give you one that no one knows. Or not no one, but a lot of people don't know. When I moved out to California to open up my second tattoo shop, we were doing demo. It was like 3 a.m. and I had to go to the bathroom real bad. I had to pee bad. So our bathroom was destroyed. So there wasn't one in there. So I was like, I'll just run outside around the corner. And as I was walking out of the front door, I opened the door and I'm walking out, and my buddy Vinny is like, hey, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go take a piss on the side of the building real quick. No! He went chasing after me. No, don't do it. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what happened? What's wrong? He's like, don't do it, dude. He's like, the cops see you, you are screwed. I'm like, what? Public urination? Who cares? The ticket. I got to go so bad right now. He's like, no, in California, you get put on the registered sex offenders list. Yes. Let me say that again. If you get busted in California for peeing in public, you are added to the registered sex offenders list. The same people, the pedo people, you're on par with them now. So when people look to see what pedophiles live around them on the open database that's public knowledge, you're listed on it for all to see. Try getting a job then. You're just listed as a registered sex offender. They don't care why. You are screwed. Holy crap, I didn't know that. I never got the handbook. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. How can we be held accountable to laws and rules that we were never informed of? Well, unfortunately, as, quote, the law tells you, it's not anyone's responsibility to tell you what the law is. It's not the court's fault that you don't know the law. It's your fault. And if you watch, I'm sure you can pull up tons of YouTube videos of judges saying, sorry, ignorance isn't a valid defense, which is such crap, because there's so many laws that we have no idea about. Like, even the cops don't know all the laws. They know the laws that they can enforce and write out tickets easily for. They could mention that part of the penal code pretty well because they deal with it on a daily basis. But we have people that go to college and all kinds of schools for years to learn all kinds of law, and then even then, I'm talking about lawyers, obviously. And then even then, they only know a very small subset of laws of the type of law that they practice in. And then even then, they do research, a ton of research for sometimes days, weeks, months to figure out if something is legal or not. So when their clients come up to them like corporate law and they say, hey, I want to do something, can I do this? Then the lawyer has to go and research it, and then at least all the lawyers I've never had a lawyer tell me, yes, you can. What they'll do is say, well, from what I can find out, here's all the reasons why it should be acceptable. So it's my professional opinion that you should be okay. But you still may have these risks and issues that you have to deal with. They'll never tell you yes or no. They'll just tell you, they'll kind of give you the guidelines, and then you have to make the decision, and then you're liable, which is crazy. There's people that we pay a ton of money that have gone to school for years to learn what only a small portion of the law is, and we have to pay them a ton of money to ask them questions. And if we don't do that, we could be breaking the law and we go to jail. The law. We're never, I think when you're born, you should be given a copy of the law. Like Judge Dredd style. Or at least, seriously, we live in a modern day technology world, right? So when the law exists as a thing, how about this? You register your address in a new state, like you move. You are then emailed a copy of what the law is, or all the laws that pertain to you according to the new county you moved in, or the state that you live in, or the country that you live in. If you open up a new business and you apply for your business license, when you get your business license, you also get a PDF file of all of the corporate laws that you have to follow that apply to you within that state or country. Why not? How is that not fair? Why is that not a thing? And then every time new laws are passed, we should be emailed and sent a copy of that law in the mail to us so we know what it is. There's no way for a small business owner or a citizen to be up to date on all the laws as to what they are, what amendments have been made, what the actual nuances of the law are. Like, we're never given any of that, and we should. They'll tell you it's public record somewhere, but have you ever tried to look up court case information? You have to have member. You have to pay to be part of the site. I think you have to put in your bar number too. Even I think it's only for lawyers. Most of the stuff, like it's not out there. It's definitely not easy accessible. But just like you sign up for a website, they make you agree to terms of service. Now, granted, you can blindly take everybody takes these terms of service, and they never read them. They just check the box and continue on their way, and that's fine. You can email them and say, "Hey, we emailed you a copy of the law of California because now that you've moved here to California, you are held accountable for it." You could take it and throw it in the trash, or just delete the email and never read it. That's your prerogative. But you have been given the opportunity to know all the laws that you have to comply. Like, it's almost, it's not almost, it is. We are living in a rigged system where you can't win. Everyone knows. Talk to any cop. If you have any friends that are cops, ask them, hey, if you have suspicion about someone, how, you can't just pull them over. And we know what they'll tell you. You follow them long enough, they'll break a law. They will do something that will give them the benefit of the doubt to be able to pull them over and do whatever they want. Whether it's they forgot to put a turn signal on, they didn't make the complete stop, they broke some weird law that only exists in that city. Like, I don't know, you have to have your daylights on around construction sites. That's a thing too, right? I know a lot of states where, I think Pennsylvania is one. If you don't turn your headlights on in a construction area when you're driving through it, you're breaking the law. So, like, there's all kinds of weird things, and they know what these weird things are. They're taught, hey, these are the little things, nuances that you can pull someone over for, and then from there, you can find out, oh, look, they don't have their driver's license on them, or, oh, look, the person driving the car has a warrant out for their arrest, or, oh, look, whatever. But when a cop wants to pull you over, they'll pull you over because the law is in their favor. The house always wins, and the government is the house. So I'm just saying, as people who, in theory, we're supposed to be the ones that control the government because they're supposed to work for us, right? Right, sure. We should be given a copy of whatever laws we are held accountable for. I don't understand why that's even an outlandish ask. If you play a game, the first thing you want to know are, what are the rules, right? If you go into a venue and they tell you, hey, no cell phones allowed, you know that ahead of time. No, you can't walk into somewhere and people will lose their minds. If you tell them they can't do something and you try to kick them out or tell them that they've broken the rules and you didn't tell them first, oh my gosh, you will never hear the end of it. They will be cursing you out like crazy. But when it comes to the law, no problem. It's like, oh, I broke the law. Dang it. Well, I didn't know that was a law. Doesn't matter. You're in jail now. What? Right? That's crazy. You are in jail for something you didn't even know you couldn't do in a free country. Well, that's the other fun thing. We're told we live... Oh, man, I'm turning into Alex Jones over here. But we turn into we always tell everybody that we live in a free country and we love our freedom and we fight for our freedom and it's all about freedom, and the government even loves to tell us, and I hate using broad strokes like saying the government, our executive branch tells us, it's all about freedom. How are we free? Honestly, like, when you think about this, what's free about living in the United States of America? Because I can't think of anything. If you work, you have to pay taxes on all the money you earn. That's not, so working's not free, which is crazy. You wanted to drive a car, you can't. You have to apply for a driver's license and pay for it and pass the thing and get a driver's license, and then you can drive a car. You can't just go buy a car and drive it around. That's illegal. It's against the law. So that's not free. You want to open up a business and do something? Nope. You have to have a business license, and you have to do all kinds of, if anyone's opened a business, which I'm hoping most of you people that are listening to this have, for a fact there's a ton of local and statewide government, all kinds of stuff that you have to do and pay, and company taxes and employee taxes and all kinds of fun stuff to open a business and run a business. That's absolutely not free. I can't think of a single thing in this country that where, hey, you want to do that? It's free. It's not. You want to buy something? We got to pay sales tax on that. And it's like, I understand these taxes, but to say that we live in the land of the free, I can't think of anything that's free for us to do. Even now, supposedly the one thing that we as Americans have always held on to, well, there's two things. One is the freedom, the right to bear arms, Second Amendment. That's one that everyone loves to battle about. I'm not getting into that right now. But the other one is our First Amendment. The First Amendment is the one thing that I think if you were to approach any American and say, what's the best freedom that we have? They will tell you we have the freedom of speech. And what's crazy is we don't even have that anymore. You think we do. We have the illusion of the freedom of speech, but you absolutely do not have the freedom of speech. Do you know how many things you can say that will line you up in jail immediately just for talking? I mean, okay, just to give you an idea, the easiest one is if you make any verbal threat or any type of written threat against the president, especially in a I don't even want to talk about it, honestly, because I know how they do things, but you know what I'm talking about. If you make any threats towards the president, that is a jailable offense. Crazy. You're not free to talk. Oh, there's one, the other one that everyone else knows, verbal assault, meaning if you threaten somebody verbally, that's verbal assault. That is a jailable offense. You are not free to talk at all. You're free to say whatever you want within the confines of a very subset of rules and restrictions that you've never been presented the law with on. And what's even more fun is it's even if you did know what the law was and you were given it, it's still up to interpretation to either a judge who can't be removed or a jury member of your peers who's absolutely not your peers. We're not even going to get into like how juries are selected. But the whole system is rigged. So you don't live in a free society. It's the biggest illusion that we have. It's not free whatsoever. And I'm going to end that there because I don't want to keep ranting. I'm going to go hang out with my kids before they got to go to bed. So I'm going to see you guys later. Thanks for listening to the Art of the Hustler podcast. Peace.